Hi everybody, this morning I'm at the Bell Rock Pathway in Sedona, Arizona, and I just did 2 sunrise sessions of the feature Castle Rock, which is this really cool kind of fin shape behind me. And I'm just going to show you how to kind of set up a painting before that really fast light comes, and then some quick tools you can use to quickly capture it as it's happening, and then kind of work from memory a little bit and work on bits of the painting when that light is already gone. So this morning I set my alarm for 3:50 and I'm out on the trail at about 4:30 a.m. And you can see how much light there is already in the sky, and I definitely want to capture a bit of that beautiful sky gradient for my painting. But the most important thing is that I'm setting up before that light hits, because it's only going to last a moment. So I've got my 9 by 12 inch panel in a vertical format to capture this feature Castle Rock. And I've stained the panel with an orange, so a combination of my cad yellow and cad red, just really thinly painted and then wiped down. And it's because there's a lot of warmth in the sky that makes its way into the rocks and the foliage and the grasses, so I like having that there to kind of show through. And the most important thing is getting in my sketch here so that I can rapidly paint a la prima, so wet into wet when I need to. And I'm here early enough that I can really achieve most of the block in before that really fleeting light happens on this rock feature. You can see that I'm placing the major shapes with my alizarin crimson. And this is how I typically set up a painting, is with this more orange wash with the red mixture to create the sketch. And that creates really visible contour lines for me. And the first thing I want to paint is the sky, but I'm actually going to block in the rocks where it meets the sky so I can kind of carve into them as I'm painting. And this block in color is going to be a very thinly painted, darker, more neutral red. So I've got my alizarin crimson with some cad red light and a little bit of ultramarine blue, some yellow ochre, and a little bit of titanium white to make it not so dark, because it's kind of a middle range value. And I'll definitely get some middle tones in that rock too, but for now I just kind of want that silhouette in generally the color that I'll need to be working with. And you can kind of see actually how the rocks in that hill are lighter. So I'm going to pull from that mixture and just add a little more alizarin crimson and titanium white to get that in. And now I'm pulling from that mixture and adding even more white. For the sky, you want to add a lot more white than you're comfortable with, especially for this beautiful gradient that happens. You see a lot of strong color in the sky, but it's actually very, very light. So, the problem I have is painting my masses a little bit too dark. So the sky really helps to train you to get those subtle values, and really helps you to lighten your mixtures. And now that I've pulled that kind of pinkish orange into the sky where that band is glowing now, I'm gradually moving my way up. So I've added some cadmium, lemon yellow, and titanium white in that next band. And now I've dropped in quite a bit of my cerulean blue. And now that I've got those bands, I'm going to add more white and blend them together. And that's how you create this beautiful kind of dawn, sunrise, sky gradient. It almost has this rainbow effect, and I like when it's really early, you still have some of that really beautiful blue on the horizon. So I'm dropping that in, and there's some lovely clouds, which is more of that blue, and then the highlights of the clouds are a very strong pink. So I love that this is happening, and I know that when the light hits that feature, it's going to be later. The sky is totally going to change, but I just love this time of day. It really speaks to the mindset that I want to put the viewer in. It really speaks to, kind of that awe-inspiring first morning light of dawn that I want to include in the piece, that I want, to be kind of a main focus. And I'm going to be pulling this sky color into all aspects of the painting, which is really important that I'm getting it all in first. The other thing is that the sun is rising, but there's these big cliffs behind me that it has to get over before that first light falls on Castle Rock. So this is where I can kind of use my artistic license and invent a little. If I was just kind of on these fields with nothing behind me, that beautiful sky would be there around the same time that light falls on the feature. So, I'm really interested in creating that feeling. But it works in my favor that they're not happening at the same time almost. I can focus a little time towards really blocking in the colors of that sky without having to rush to drop in the light falling on the feature. So the fact that they're a little spaced out makes it even easier for me to provide a little bit of this instructional demo. When the light is very fleeting, it can be, just a little chaotic when you're applying the paint. So I'm enjoying having some time to really study these colors that are happening. You can see now that Castle Rock feature is gradually getting lighter, but I'm not going to touch my middle value color mixture that I've made because I know that effect is going to rapidly change when the strong light hits it. And still kind of poking around with my sky here, and I've got my low mountain in the backdrop there, which I basically used that cloud mixture with kind of the blues and a little bit of red and yellow, and I've taken some of the white out to create that hillside behind. And I'm painting really thinly so that if something changes rapidly, I can blend another color into it or paint over it without muddying or adding any kind of limitations for myself. And I'm blocking in this ground plane, this tree line here, much darker than it appears. And the reason is that there's so much of this hillside green, and I want to make sure in my mind that I'm going to differentiate from this foreground foliage and the background foliage, and they're pretty close together. So blocking in these core shadows is a way for me to gauge a little better the subtleties in that green mixture. Now you can see that I'm blocking in that kind of lighter, more atmospheric grayish green in the hillside. So I'm basically using some yellow ochre with ultramarine blue, cadmium red light, and alizarin, adding some white to it. For that core shadow near the foreground, I've got, some very high ultramarine and cadmium red medium combination going with my cadmium red medium. And I'm going to leave that dark band alone so that I can focus on the subtleties in this hillside a bit more. And it's also important to note that the darks in that hillside are going to take a little bit more ultramarine blue than they do in my foreground trees and grasses. And that really helps to push the atmospheric feeling. Even though the foreground is farther away, I'm kind of creating that illusion of it being closer with the viewer standing right at the base of this feature. I just wanted to show you my palette really quickly, the primary colors that I'm using with the warm and the cool pairing of each. And you can see how much sky mixture is in there, along with my red rock and my green mixtures. Now that light is beginning to drop over that hillside behind the rock feature. It's rapidly moving and just creating this beautiful orange along that hillside. And that's happening a little bit gradually, but it's definitely something that I want to drop into the painting because it really speaks to that time of day. And now I'm just blending kind of an orange mixture right into that purpley grayish blue that I have back there, and kind of defining a little bit more grayish red where they meet, where the yellow and the blue of the hillside meets, creating a really nice gradient a little bit in the hillside and leaving some of that blue that the hill previously was at the base of it, so that it's kind of reading as that fleeting moment along with the sky. Now, the moment that we've all been waiting for is that light that's hitting the rock. And you can see how, like a curtain, it's just falling over the rock. And this is my favorite thing about plein air painting, painting the light as it's happening and just syncing up with the light. It's like it's being channeled through my body almost. So I've quickly mixed an orange with my cadmium red and yellow and white, and I'm just painting that right at the top of the feature. And I'm not going to chase the light any more than this. So I really just wanted to create that feeling of that first light hitting the feature. So I've got a little bit more of kind of a yellow orange towards the top, and then it creates this beautiful blending with the color of the rock when you get towards the light hitting that initial block-in that I created on the rock. So I'm kind of blending that highlight with that middle red, and that's all I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna leave it there. There's a really interesting shadow created, I believe because of the rocks behind. But I'm not going to worry too much about capturing that exactly. It's really that gradient of light that I wanted to focus on. And I've actually come out for a second session around the same time because I never really got a chance to work on my foreground foliage. I was so focused on capturing the light hitting that rock that quickly it lit up the hillside, and I wasn't really able to gauge the accurate value structure of that foreground foliage. So it's a lot lighter than my core shadows that I initially created, and I just want to fine tune that a little bit. So I'm adding in, some nice middle tone greens to that foreground. And those are going to be a lot warmer than the greens in that hillside. And that temperature is how I'm going to differentiate between the two greens. So I'm definitely adding more saturation, and I'm keeping the value structure darker, but I'm also lightening it in that second session. And that's primarily the reason that I came back for this second session, to work on those foreground trees and grasses. And I can refine other bits and pieces of the painting as well, but I've really got it to this place of completion. This type of study to me doesn't feel like a finished painting. It's more really just studying the light and capturing that on your panel. And studying this light and getting the hang of being able to express it as it's happening is a really powerful practice. And it's such an adventure, and it's so fun. I feel so fortunate to be able to share this very special time of day and this painting process. And I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. See you next time.